Hey guys, it's Demi Winters, and you're listening to the Blush and Burn podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blush and Burn podcast. This is Laura Eakin.
And I'm Annie Baxter.
And we're so excited today. We have an amazing guest author on today, the Miss Demi Winters. Woo-hoo!
Hello, thank you for having me.
Good morning. It feels like a Monday morning, but we are all here.
Yes,
Feels
we
like
are.
Monday to me too.
With our coffee. With our coffee.
Well, you guys have your coffee. I am sporting liquid IV this morning. I already had my coffee.
Oh, look at you being all good and drinking your water.
I'm trying. It's not easy. It's hard. It's hard.
Know.
So, Demi, we are so excited to have you on today, and we've been following your journey. Annie and I were actually looking back a little bit. We've been following your journey for quite some time.
We were trying to figure out like the actual date. Yesterday, I was like, when did she come onto our radar? Like, when did we actually be like, we have to read this book? And what did we figure out, Laura? It was
a while ago. It was before you got picked up for being trad published for Road of Bones and before the cover change, because we acquired the Road of Bones when it was the skull with the dagger in it, or the sword in it with the raven.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So that was pre-2024 then.
Yes.
By the way, I'm coveting that cover a little bit. I am always on the lookout.
Yeah.
See if I see it anywhere. You know, just watching.
It's a hot commodity.
It's a hot commodity, man. Those covers before they change, man. Who knew that was going to be the thing, right? It was like, that's the thing.
Yeah, I wish I had bought like a big box of them before I changed the covers. I did, but I changed the covers and then I bought a big box thinking that they would have like a bunch of them in the warehouse, but they came in and they were all the new cover. And I was like, oh, I mean, I was happy with the new cover and all that, but yeah, the reason I had to change was it was like not a good relationship with the other cover designer. And I tried to get a second book cover for over a year. And I was like, this is not working. I need to like move on for my own mental health.
Totally.
And so like, I didn't want to change covers, especially only one book in, but c'est la vie.
It works.
It's hard.
It always works out. It's just that funny thing that people really want like that first edition cover. It's like become this like coveted commodity.
Yeah.
Who knew that indie editions were going to be the thing?
Oh.
Of all like what's going on in book talk, everybody's like, I found this indie edition. It's this indie edition.
It's true.
Every time someone brings an indie book for me to sign, I'm like, oh, you've been with me from the start. That's so lovely.
I love it.
It's the best. I love that too. So with your journey as a whole, since you've been writing for quite some time, we say quite some time. However, what was the process of writing The Road of Bones? Like, when did you start that?
So I haven't been writing for that long in the grand scheme of things. I started in 2021. So I'm only like 4 years into this.
That is not a long time.
That's still long.
I know.
See, I don't think that's very long. 4 years? That's like...
It depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Like some people are writing their books for like 10 years before they get it published. And so I don't know, everything that's happened has been a little crazy. But so I was like really burnt out and I was missing that creative spark in my life. And so I thought, I used to love writing books as a child. Why don't I give it a try as a grown-up? And I totally got that spark. It was like this thing missing in my life. And I became kind of obsessed with it and lost in this world with these imaginary characters. And like my family was kind of worried about me, like alone in my office. But then when the book came out, they're like, okay, she was like actually doing something in there.
Did you have that like support system then, like while you were writing? Because I do think that like sometimes having those people behind you really can help make that difference of like, no, she can do this. No, she can do this. Whether, or was it more of like, I'm going to prove to you that I'm going to do this. Yeah. Yeah.
So my husband is super supportive. He's
cool.
He's always like, I've had a few, harebrained adventures, and he's always just like supported me. He's like, "No, I knew you were gonna do it. I knew you were gonna get it done." And so he's always very supportive. My parents were worried for sure. Um, I think like they had a friend whose daughter like locked herself away and was writing a book and nothing ever came of it, and she had some mental health issues and stuff. So I think they were thinking about her. But now they're super supportive. My mom actually came with me to Romantasy Book Con and was my assistant.
Oh, well, that's the
And
Even
best.
better.
it was so fun. I forgot to tell her about cosplay, and so she saw some
Oh, that's fun.
like Faye ears in the elevator, and she was like, she was so excited. It was adorable.
That's the
I
best.
It was so fun.
I so Salt Lake City does I think would be close to maybe Romanticon is, or maybe it's not. It's kind of more like a Comic-Con.
It's
Actually,
more
you
like
went,
Comic-Con.
yeah, you went to one recently, right? I think it was like Emerald. Was
Emerald
that what
City.
was it called? Um,
Emerald City
and
Comic Con.
I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, I wonder
We
if
have
that's
those
like
here.
FanX, because we do FanX here in Salt Lake, and it is no joke.
Yeah,
It's like
It's insane. And people
it's
go
like-
like all out in
yeah.
my first thought is like Halo gear. They literally have like all the parts on
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all the bells and whistles.
there were some crazy elaborate costumes, and it was really hot in the venue. And so I was looking at this woman dressed as like Maleficent from what is it, Sleeping Beauty? Or is it?
Yeah.
I always get her and
Yeah.
Snow White confused.
Totally.
She was like, I with the headgear and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, you must be so hot. And just like people with full on masks and things, and there's just like spontaneous lightsaber duels happening. It was so fun.
Dude, I
That makes my heart happy.
when we were walking around FanX, the last time it came, I was telling my husband, I said, what's weird is that it kind of has like a whole different feel to it, because like you go to conventions, you go to these like we've been to book things, we've done a bunch of like even just like conventions, right? You walk around, people are not, I mean, they're not grumpy, but people are there. There's a lot of people, they get kind of like antsy. But when you go to those Comic-Con ones, it's different. They want to be there. Like they're there. They want to be there. They want you to look at them. They want to. It's like the atmosphere is just different. It's like happy and like you're taught. It's just a different kind of like, I don't know. Like people are really enjoying themselves being there. Whether besides being at like that convention where you're like, oh, there's too many people here, and we're like, you know what I mean? Like people get kind of cranky when there's like too many
crowds.
people and it's like congested and stuff. But man, you go to those Comic-Cons and it's like, no, they want to be there. They're happy to be there.
And I think it's just like being like kind of geeky and being around so many other geeky people. I don't want to say they're all geeks or something.
No,
and
I
I'm
get
a
it.
total geek. So it's just like when you're around like-minded people, you can just be yourself. You don't have to be like on guard and like worrying about people judging you, or it was really good energy at the Comic-Con. Everyone felt very supportive, and there's no aggression or anything like that. Like everyone was really, it was super, super busy, and like the lineups were kind of insane. But yeah, everybody was really lovely and so nice. Actually, when I went to Romantasy Book Con a few weeks ago, it was very similar energy. And I don't know if it's because it was like a romantasy specific book con. But one of my friends said it had like big Taylor Swift energy, and I was like, yeah, everybody was so nice,
I can
so
see
lovely,
that.
supportive. Yeah, it was lovely.
Because they want to be there.
Yeah.
And it's like when you find like your tribe, like the people that like just, it's like you connect on this like whole different level. Like me and Laura started a book club not too long ago, which your book got picked for.
Awesome. Hey, wait,
we were
you request book club swag?
So we did ours back in January. Yeah.
Okay,
and you did the giveaway with us. So when we did it, actually it was awesome because we had opened up the giveaway to be like to everyone that followed us on social media. And one of our actual local book club winners won it.
we
Yay.
were really excited for. I was like,
Aw.
By the
look,
way, it's this
she
one.
won.
I asked her if I could borrow it,
Good.
so I could show you.
So
Aw.
it's so cute.
So it is the one that you did do, and I love this.
We're a
I
little
think
jelly
this
of
is-
it. If I'm
because
if
it's
I'm
the
being
matte
honest,
covers.
The matte covers, yeah.
Oh,
So
we love the
the
matte.
US covers are glossy and the UK covers are matte. And then the Book of the Month editions are glossy on like the image, but then the
Mhm.
background is matte. I think
Yeah, this
Really?
this one has like the UV gloss on some of the letters,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but that's it. Everything else on it is matte.
Yeah.
it's really pretty.
Is really pretty.
She had to bring it over and show it to us because
She
she's
did.
local. So we got to pet it and be like, oh, we're so
Hello.
excited for you.
I get to
That's
pet
so
it more
funny.
often. It's been
I'm
hanging
so-
out at my house.
If anyone else is doing the Road of Bones or Kingdom of Claw for their book club, I have these book club swag packs that I send out. So there's like a form
Cool.
on my website, and you just fill it out and you can get bookmarks and stickers and a few art prints.
And that'll be linked in the show notes of this episode, as well as at the bottom of the YouTube video, so that everybody can access it and go and check it out, because we didn't realize it at the time that you had this. And we learned about it after. But when I looked at what people had in there, I was like, that is freaking awesome. Those are so cool.
And there's like book club discussion questions and some games and stuff. Those are recent. I just did those like a couple.
That is cool. Okay,
I'm just like so honored that people are reading it in their book club. I think that's the coolest thing ever.
oh no, these girls lost their crap. Like no
They
joke.
loved
Like first of all, they were really excited that someone local won it, and then she brought it so that everyone could look at it. And then as we opened it up, so we did this thing where Laura got her computer out and we all picked real people, like actors,
As like our Viking
who
men.
we would like put in as like
Fan
our
cast?
Viking men. And these girls had a blast.
We all like gathered around my computer, and I literally was just like popping up images, and they're like, I just sent you one. This is who I would choose for Ray. Oh, I just sent you one. This is Jonas, which is so hard for my brain. I'm going to tell you right now. I tried to read this physically, and I was like, nope, I can't. My brain was like, couldn't grasp the Viking names. And so I was like, all right, audiobook. We're doing this.
Dude, that narrator, she did a
so good.
fantastic job.
She's amazing. I got so lucky with her. I was
amazing.
Like, I had to send over these pronunciations to her, and like she did so well.
She did fantastic.
The way she, like, her versatility, that's why I wanted to go with her, is because of her versatility. Like, Scylla has to be kind of bubbly and Ray has to be like super grumpy, and
totally.
And so she nailed it. And like, I did have the debate of like dual or duet. I always get confused. Like if I get a male narrator for the for the male POVs, but like this is just me. I have a hard time when male narrators do female voices, especially when there's spice. And so I was like, I'm just gonna go with like a single narrator.
She did a great job.
She nailed it. She did
absolutely
great job. And she just really kind of pulled that whole story together, and really like her delivery was great. I would say when we did it for book club, I bet 50% of them listened to it, and then the other 50% probably read it. Do you think that's right, Laura?
I'd say that's about accurate, because
I think it was about 50-50.
Yeah. It was, because we actually had a debate about it, because one of the girls was like, no, it's Jonas. We're like, no, it's Jonas. And so we were like, every time somebody would say Jonas, the girls that physically read it, they're like, you mean Jonas? And then the girls who listened, every time they did Jonas, it was Jonas. So it was really fun to like have these moments going around in the middle of book club, just for people being like, that's not how you say it. That's not how you say
okay.
it.
If it makes your book club feel any better, when I wrote the book, I had Jonas in my head. And then I had like a really big debate when I was sending her pronunciations. And I was like, is it going to be Jonas or is it going to be Jonas? And I just thought I have to stick with like the way it's supposed to be. So it's Jonas. And I did kind of get used to it afterwards. But when I
Yeah,
was
but
writing, it was definitely
it
John.
definitely helps give the feel though. Like,
Yeah,
when you say Jonas, it does help give that more Viking feel to it.
totally.
So I like the choice. I think it's a good choice.
I do
It
too.
worked. It
But so
worked.
for the pronunciation of these, because my brain couldn't grasp it with some of these things. I was like, I'm gonna butcher trying to say any of these things or like places because my brain just isn't hardwired that way. I used to tease my husband. I'd be like, I would totally be an awesome Viking if it was warm. And I didn't like,
Yeah, I would not
and
have
he's like,
survived in Iceland as
Oh
like an
my,
early
are you
Viking.
kidding me?
Nope,
There's
I
no
would have
way.
no way.
died one day.
I'm a tropical being.
Yeah. But because I'm like, I totally could live in our ancestry. So Annie and I both have that area in our ancestry chart.
Cool.
And through like, all of England and Sweden and up through that area. And I was like, I could totally rock this Nordic life. And my husband laughed at me and he goes, okay. I was like,
Yeah,
stop it.
it's not
Leave me alone.
happening. I know.
No,
It's wishful thinking. I'm
it
a
is.
warm I'm a warm being, actually. I like the beaches, you know.
I do too. So have you been to Iceland then when you were writing this? Or was it all based off of like images you were able to find on like Pinterest or online?
I haven't been to Iceland. I'm dying to go. I watch a lot
Yeah.
of like videos. I follow a lot of Instagram accounts and just like, of people who live there. And so, but like also, I was going for a Viking Age sort of thing, which is very different from modern Iceland. But in terms of like geography and stuff, yeah, I was just like a lot of research into that. And it was very much like loosely based. There's no like landmarks in the book that are directly like pulled from actual places. Um, but yeah, so mostly
How,
research.
how did you settle on Vikings?
So the setting came first. So I always say this is like one of my few aha moments. Originally, it was just a medieval setting, and something felt like it was missing to me. I really wanted that feel where, when the setting is so vivid, it's almost like another character. I
Totally.
wanted that feeling. So I was watching some video came up in my feed of a volcano erupting, and it was like one of those really cool drone shots where they can get right above it. And it
Totally.
was in Iceland. And so I started thinking about it and thinking, like, there's the glaciers, there's the volcanoes and the black sand beaches and the fjords. And I was like, someone needs to write like a fantasy set in inspired by Iceland. And so from there, I decided to do it. And from there, naturally, Vikings came and sort of, I went down that pathway. And then after I found John Gwynn's Shadow of the Gods, and that
Ooh.
is clearly set in Iceland. And I was like, no. So I
I
decided
get
to
it.
do it anyway, though.
Yeah.
Dude, your world building is fantastic in this series though, because I like literally within like the first two chapters, you're already in the world. Like you're already like just from the way like you kind of like describe um like her like daily job, right? Like you kind of fall into her world, like what her day to day looks like. And just from that minute where you start to kind of like go like, okay, now you see the setting, and then as it kind of trails into the next few chapters of with her father, you really, really get a feel of the world that you're moving into.
Yeah, I'm so glad
And
that came through. The first
Oh,
chapter
it
is
definitely did.
almost like a world building chapter
yeah,
where hopefully like there's enough mystery to make it still exciting and not like an info dump of information, but this mystery slowly unraveling in the first chapter. And I always tell people, if you can make it through the first chapter, you can make it through the rest of the book, because the first chapter is kind of like the most violent, gruesome one.
sometimes you have to have that though to set up your story and to create your hook, right? Because you have to create the hook to get your readers to like continue,
Yeah,
and then you have to give them another hook at the very end of your first book to
yeah,
get them to want to move into your second book. So
yeah.
which I will say that so many of the girls after they finished the first book were like, book two's out, right? Book two's out, right? We're like, yeah, it's out. And
Go get it.
I believe when we checked back in last month, I think at least half of them have gone back into the second book. They all intend to go into the second book, but I think a bunch of them just like jumped right back in and they were like continuing.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm excited
Yeah.
to check back in with them and see how many have finished Kingdom of Claw. Laura is so close.
Oh, I'm in the last
she's
like
I have,
hour
like,
and a
an
half
hour
and I'm
left.
dying.
Ah.
Oh, so much has happened.
A wild ride.
Oh my gosh, it's so wild. And like right now, I'm like on like pins and needles. And I was
So
listening while going around my house today, and I was like, I just don't want to stop. But I'm also talking to the author, but I don't want to stop. It was like this weird, like back and forth moment all morning.
So it was really important to me that each book had its own like conflict and conflict resolution, and that it wasn't just like that
That's
you
cool.
get to the conflict and then it's just like cuts off. Because I want you to feel like that contentment or satisfaction with the conflict being resolved, and yet there's still an overarching issue maybe that needs to be resolved, or a new one is introduced. And for the end of book 2, I would say I was influenced by Brendan Sanderson. I don't know if you've ever read his books, but he's known for his Sanderland, where everything starts to just it all comes together, all these different plot threads, and it just snowballs, and it's like this epic climax. And so I was kind of like trying for my own version of that, where all the little threads came together and start to
it does that in the Road of Bones.
It does.
100%. It's like I remember getting to the end, and of course a couple of girls had finished before and we're like putting in the chat like, who's here, who's in this chapter, and I'm like, stop. Like because you get so excited, right? Because that's exactly what you're saying. You see all the threads slowly start to like pull together, and then in the end you're left with like, oh my god, that was really great.
And then hopefully all the like little things that didn't make sense, kind of, you're like, where is this going? Hopefully that all like comes in, and then you
right
get it.
Right. And anything that wasn't answered, I always feel like you get excited because it's what keeps you going into the next one, right? Where you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Now it's always like your world grows, right? Like that's the hope with like a book series, is like you have, now you're here, and then the second book goes, and now our world got bigger. And then you get to the next book, now our world gets bigger. And so the story kind of grows with your books, right?
Yeah. And actually, that's interesting that you say that, because, book 1 definitely was like smaller cast, I would say. And then, gets larger in book 2, and it's going to get larger in book 3. But then book 4 is going to kind of start contracting in, and book 5 is going to be like, that's sort of the plan. Because
that's cool.
I like this.
I love that. I really, really like that, because I feel like sometimes by the time sometimes those series get so big, your world is there's a lot happening, right? And I love this.
I like that it's going to come back.
This plan of yours. I am excited for this.
Yeah, because so book 3 is like there's multi-POV. There's basically like 3 different storylines that all come together at the climax. And but then going into like book 4, I think it's going to be more like one main storyline told from different point of views, but less of that like multiple stories, because that is hard. It's hard to make it have multiple point of views, but then they all feel like they're still part of the same story. Like in book 2, I was able to bounce Scylla and Saga off one another in terms of like something happens in place A and it affects place B, but then in book 3 I wasn't able to do that. And so I'm like, I hope it doesn't feel too discordant. But then it does all come together at the end. And so with being like perfectly vague.
Perfectly vague.
Dude,
it's like
I don't know how hard that is as an author, where you're just like, I can't tell anyone what I'm doing. It's like, it's almost like a whole however long it takes you to write, book 3, it's like there's like this whole chunk of your life that you focus on a daily basis that you're just not allowed to tell anyone about,
Yeah.
or the people you do tell, you trust them, obviously. But I have one of my absolute best friends is he writes like paranormal, and his wife is one of my absolute best friends as well. And she's always like, he doesn't tell me anything. And I'm like, what do you mean he doesn't tell you anything? And she's like, I have no idea about book 2. And I'm like, how do you not know? She just is like, he doesn't tell me. We don't talk about it. So it's like this
Oh,
whole
wow.
chunk of his life that like she doesn't even know about. It'd be so hard.
You know what's funny is my husband is not a reader, and he struggles to focus even on like audiobooks. And so he has read The Road of Bones in audio, and he's like stuck on Kingdom of Claw. And I'm like, what do you think, it's boring? Like I'm giving him a hard time. He really struggles to focus on either reading or like audio. And so he doesn't know stuff. I'm like, guess what Hecla did today? And he's like,
Oh,
anyway.
I'm so excited for Hecla to be coming back. I have like this sneaking suspicion that they're coming back in book 3, and like all the Bloodsworn are coming back in, and or like the Blood Axe crew. I read Bloodsworn. That the Blood Axe crew is coming back in, and I'm like, yes, please. I need these people back. I want Hecla's hand. Like the whole thing. I'm just like,
So I'm working on her novella right now, and it's like
ooh.
everything that's happening during Kingdom of Claw. So originally it was supposed to go in Kingdom of Claw, but it was already like a huge book, and it didn't really fit. It was going to make the story a little muddled, I would say, because it was pretty tight with the way the two plots were bouncing off each other, and then to just throw this third one in, it would have been really confusing, and I think it would have not landed very well. So it also didn't fit into book 3 in terms of timeline. And so yeah, it's basically what's happening with this job the Blood X crew took on. And so they're in Istray, trying to uncover the mystery of this like mist that has the sound of a beating heart.
Yeah.
um, and it's like Hecla, she's trying to keep the Blood Axe crew together in the wake of what happens in the Road of Bones. And it's so fun writing from her point of view. She's so different from the other female FMCs. She's fun. She's very fun.
Well, I love this idea because you always knew there was a backstory to her. Because like you could tell she was like a complex character, but we didn't know a lot about her, like in Road of Bones. And I'm about a third of the way through Kingdom of Claw, and I haven't seen her come in yet at all into Kingdom of Claw. So I like
Dun, dun,
that
dun.
because see, yeah, I'm not there yet. Don't tell me, Laura. I'm not there. But I love this idea because she was definitely a complex character. So it's really cool that you're giving her her own story.
Yeah, and so it's not like a backstory, but you will get more of her history.
Cool.
And it's just all her point of view, which is also really fun to write because normally I've got like 4 or 5 different point of views, and so it's just like lovely not to have to choose. Like, who are we telling this chapter? Who's telling this chapter?
Totally.
It's all just her. It's lovely to do. So I'm like I'm getting pretty close to that one. I'm going to have to get a sensitivity reader because she has a prosthetic arm and she's a domestic violence survivor. So I just want to make sure like we're all good. I don't want to, accidentally write something harmful. So I have my sensitivity readers all booked, and then I have an editor booked, and I have a cover designer booked.
So this is like getting nip tucked right now for actual publication.
Yeah, so I'm going to self-publish it. And I was like waiting to see if Penguin was going to buy it, and they didn't. So I was just like, okay, I'm fine. I'm happy to self-publish. Like, to me, it's almost like more diversity in income to have some stuff self-published and then some stuff with the trad publisher. The only thing is like the cover design might not perfectly match. It's a long, complicated story. But I feel like for a novella, it's okay if it's like a little bit different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So when your reading order then, would you say that it goes after Kingdom of Claw?
Yeah.
So it would be book 1, book 2, then the little novella, and then 4, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, and I had to write the novella to know how to write book 3. So it was a whole thing. um, I wrote it and then I wrote book 3 and then I went back and fixed a bunch of stuff in the novella. And then so I've been bouncing between the two of them. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to get it out and hopefully it'll help, people who've been waiting for the third installment for quite a while. Hopefully it'll kind of like keep them going for a little longer. We don't have a release date for book 3 at the moment, but it's been through, it's with my editor now. So I just did like a big rewrite. It was the first round of developmental edits where you're just like really moving things around. Um, and so it'll come back and I'll do some more, but it'll be like lesser movement of things, smaller things. And then hopefully after that, we'll get into, copy edits and grammatical stuff.
So when it comes back from your editor and they're like, hey, we need to move these things around, there's a part of me that would be like, excuse you, I put that there for a reason. And being like, no, 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 I'm not moving this. But when they do move things, specifically like in your first book, when you're writing The Road of Bones, did you feel like you were like, no, that's not where it goes? Was it hard for you to take like the editor's advice to then be like, okay, here we go at all? Or was it just kind of like a natural, like, oh, okay, here we go?
No, for me, not at all. In fact, I was really seeking that advice because something wasn't sitting right and I didn't know what it was or how to fix it. Well, I did know what it was. The middle of the book was extremely slow because we went from her running for her life to all of a sudden like relationship building. And I was like, how do I keep, I need to keep the tension and the conflict. Like she's still running for her life. And so
Right.
I worked with a developmental editor who I I was indie at the time, so I hired her and I looked at it like taking a course. I really wanted to learn how to structure a story. I did all of her homework. I did all these calls with her. And I think when she saw that I really wanted to like understand how to do this and I was really taking her feedback, she gave me even more value, which was amazing. So she really helped me. She gave me, so some of her homework was like, go watch The Fugitive or go watch a chase movie and to see how they set it up.
Oh,
And so I
I
watched
like
The
that.
Fugitive. I don't know if you guys have seen The Fugitive.
I haven't seen that for years,
It's been
but
a minute.
is it Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford. And so like
Oh,
he's running and
I mean,
Tommy Lee
come
Jones is
on.
the
He's
cop.
like that yummy, like,
I did.
he gets handsomer, like, as he gets older. Like,
He's got the grumpy old man thing going now, and I kind of
but I
love
like it.
it. So I watched The Fugitive, among other chase movies, and I realized, oh, there's always like a point of view of someone who's doing the chasing, and that immediately adds that sort of like urgency of even if she's not feeling it, like we know she's still being tracked, and so that's where the character of
Cool.
Spreda came from. So yeah, that was just an example of her feedback. So for book 3, this is my first time working with my new editor at Penguin, and she was the editor for the Fever series by Karen Marie Moaning. So she is like
That's
really,
Laura's favorite. That's Laura's
oh,
Right
favorite.
there.
she's
I
great
have a
with,
shrine in the
She has the
corner.
shrine.
yeah, it's Shauna Summers. She's amazing. She's really good at the romance part of things, which for me, I always do like the plot and then like the romance kind of comes after, but I think I'm hoping with her help that they're more kind of intertwined. So I did have to do quite a bit of work on act 2 and we'll see what she says for the rest. It'll be interesting to hear.
Well, it's
I just
exciting though to have like that
when you
learning
have
process through it.
yeah, exactly. I think when you have like when you're writing, the editor's help really is that you've read it so many times to yourself in your head, right? You're like, okay, I've read these 3 chapters like over and over. I almost can't even see it anymore, right? Like you need that outside perspective to be like help
Yeah.
gain that like it's hard because
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know how to explain what I'm thinking. It's like you've
You
already
cannot
read it
see
so
it.
many times. You need help.
Yeah, and it's even like for example typos, like you start to read your book so many times that you literally cannot see typos,
Yeah.
even like super obvious ones, and it's also like that for story. So it's hard for me, for example, to gauge pacing because I'm down there like examining paragraph per
Ooh.
paragraph. So it's really hard for me to get an idea of pacing. And I do what I used to do when for indie publishing is I would have like one last sort of batch of readers. So I would do like authors who would help me with structure and like the nitty gritty authory kind of things. And then I'd have a few rounds of that. And then at the end, I would have a batch of like 10 or so just casual readers to be like, is this completely boring?
Totally.
And like, where is your mind wandering? And that kind of thing. And that helped like identify a few places I could tighten it up. But when you're getting to the end, it's kind of too late almost to deal with those big pacing issues. So anyway, I'm glad to have a whole team at Penguin to help me with this now.
Well, casual readers pick up on different things too, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm more of a casual reader, and maybe a mood reader even, I would call myself. So I think sometimes like I'm not gonna pick up on some of those like um you know, like I'll probably find a plot hole, but I'm not gonna find, and I'll probably even do some like pacing, but there's certain structural things that I'm not gonna like pick out of a story. Do you know what I mean? And so casual readers can really find like that did not go right, or like maybe
Yeah.
even like personality type like characteristics of like something happens and you're like that doesn't really fit this character
Yeah.
actually from like what I've already read previously in these books, and you're like that felt like that kind of came out of the blue, and they find some of those different
Yeah.
things, you know?
Agreed. Totally agreed. Yeah. And from the casual readers is more like a feeling. They're like,
Yeah.
this didn't
Yeah, yeah,
work.
yeah.
I don't know why. And then so that's where me working with like the editors and stuff I'm hoping that I'm getting better at diagnosing
Totally.
and going in and like fixing. But yeah, I have one beta reader who has just returned Hecla's novella to me, and she's like, this is out of character for her. Hecla wouldn't feel like this. And I'm like, you're
See?
right. Like, you know her. This is great.
I love
Yeah.
that.
They just pick up on different things.
They
Totally.
do.
Yeah.
We all pick up on different things though. And I think that's a big point of how reading is subjective to everybody. You know what I mean? That I will pick up on one thing and Annie will pick up on
Oh
another.
yeah, we pick up on
And
totally different things and we'll be reading the exact same story, but yet she's like Lara's logical. So Lara is like, wouldn't you think this if this person was doing this? I'm like, oh no, I'm just like
I'm in it
we
for the
just pick
vibe
up on
right
different
now.
things.
There's
Yeah,
like
I'm just
vibes
vibing.
readers,
I'm in
and
the
then there's
vibe.
like critical readers.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a critical reader. Like, that's just how
Yeah.
my brain works. I'm like, yeah. Sometimes when I'm reading for fun, I pick up on things and I'm like, I wouldn't have done it this way. um,
Yeah.
but then there are some readers who just like are there for the vibes. They're there. It doesn't need to make sense. It's just as long as it's a good time, and both are
Yeah.
totally valid. So
Yeah. Depends on the mood that I'm in, if I'm being
yeah.
honest. It depends on where I'm at that day. It depends on so many like outside factors. How low am I that day? How high is my anxiety that day? Like it
Yeah.
really just kind of like depends on how nitpicky I am in that critical reader mode.
So you were mentioning that you're kind of a critical reader. Who do you read? Like
Oh my gosh.
who do you have some like go to like authors where you're just like, look, either like their book comes out and you buy it, or maybe you just have some that are just like
Comforts, like your
yeah,
comfort
like your
reads.
comforts where you're like, or I'm gonna reread this because I really loved it the first time.
So I don't reread like ever, which I will say the one book I've reread in the past like 5 years was a Elisa Kleypas novel. She's historical romance, and it was The Devil in Winter. So if anyone is watching and they're into historical romance, they're going to be like, oh yeah, Sebastian Saint, what is it? Sebastian Saint James or Sebastian Saint Vincent or something. Anyway, that one I reread.
Okay.
But I read very widely. I read thrillers, I read fantasy, like, Brendan Sanderson type stuff. I read uh everything. Contemporary romance. So I'm just trying to think of like my favorites lately. I was just chatting about Deep End with a couple of reader friends, and we
I
just,
just bought that. I'm
oh,
very
Yeah.
excited to read it. Did you love it?
I love it. And I was just
Okay.
telling them that I love how Allie writes her main male characters. Like they're so down for the FMC, but like the FMC never knows it, but the reader does. And I just love how she does that. And I love
That's
how she doesn't spoon feed you things. Like she plants these little seeds and you can pick them up and totally understand he's like obsessed with her. And you know what I mean? Those little things. I also love how she writes like people feel so real. Those little things that make
cool.
a person. I'm like, how do you pick those all up? Like there's always something that I can relate to, some little weird random thing. So I love Allie Hazelwood. Just thinking what else. I've read Nisha J. Tooley's Artifacts of Aranos recently, and I love that.
I
Amber,
haven't finished that as well. I actually really like that. It was a good series. I haven't finished the last book,
the
but it
last
was
book is so good. It comes like full circle. There's a full
okay.
circle moment, and I'm like,
Okay.
oh my god, that was genius.
Moved up Annie's TBR.
I know. I'm like, all right. All
Yeah,
right.
I know. It's like sometimes the new series. I wanted to start a new series, but I'm trying to like be better at finishing. So also, I just read Amber V. Nicole's the second book in her series. So the first one is Book of Azrael. The second is Throne of Broken Gods, and it's like very much
Cool.
a character driven story. But the setting is so cool, and all of her characters are super unique. So it's like the FMC is extremely morally gray, and then the MMC is like, so it's like Grumpy Sunshine, but like reverse. He's kind of the golden, golden boy, and she's like,
I love that.
yeah,
Oh,
it
that
was
moved up
fun.
We
my
have not
TBR.
read that one yet.
Uh, yeah,
It's on the
I love
list.
it. The setting kind of gave me almost, I don't want to say Crescent City vibes because there aren't fae, and it's more like the dark side of that, like the vampires and the, I'm spacing out, but they all have different names. So I think there were shifters as well. Anyway, it's kind of like that, like more modern setting, but like with creatures and magic and gods.
I do like that.
Please.
Yeah.
Speaking my language.
I do like all those things.
I know it's on the TBR. You know, that thing is,
Never ending.
it's a little stressful sometimes, if I'm not going to lie, huh, Laura?
We've actually been feeling this a lot because there are so many books out there and
they're
we
so
want to just
good.
like ingest them. But it's like, I feel like it's death by TBR. It never stops. It just keeps going.
I have like 40 unread audiobooks on my Audible. 40. And I have probably about 40 physical books sitting on my shelf, just staring at me like, when are you going to read me?
Yeah.
That's what you do, though. I mean, it's like you gotta have what you're reading physically, though, right? And then you gotta have what you have on your Kindle because, what
You
if
don't
you're
always
out
want your
waiting
physical
in a
book with you.
doctor's office or something? It's like I need to do something, so I'm gonna pull up my Kindle on my phone, and then you gotta always have to have your Audible, so when you get in your car, you got something good to listen to.
Yeah, that's me. I have always got like 5 books on the go. And I'm, sometimes if I'm not in the mood for one, I'll just jump to the other.
Totally.
Or I'll just like try to, get through maybe a slower part by just doing like 30-minute sessions on one, like 30 minutes per day kind of thing, and then get through it. I have a hard time DNFing. That's my problem. Yeah.
I am that person too.
I'm like, well, what
It's
if something changes and it gets like amazing? I don't want to miss that.
See, sometimes it gets better though, like that. Like sometimes there's just a little lull, and you just got to push through because you never know. I mean, sometimes they pull it out at the end, and you're just like, okay, that was.
Or sometimes it's like your mood, like that you're not in the mood for that at that moment, and then
exactly.
Yeah.
So we do this thing and we call it soft DNFing. So it's like, it's good. I'm just not in that mood. So we just like soft DNF it and like put it in the corner per
just
se.
Inside for just a minute, and because you'll come back to it.
Yeah.
You'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing to do right now because for our book club, we are screening all of our books before we put them out. And with that comes a lot of books. So we're trying really hard to like, okay, if I'm screening, then I have to like set this one to the side for a minute and then come back in. And then I'm like, okay, now I can go back to it and pick it back up. And I have, you say you have 40 in your Audible and 40 on your shelf. I also
That's
have
crazy.
40 in my Kindle that are currently downloaded that I'm like, when the mood strikes.
Yeah,
There's still the
I
Kindles.
can't even look at my Kindle.
It gets overwhelming.
It's like, I think I have like 70 in my Kindle. So, but I've decided I'm focusing on the Audible and the physical because they were like the ones that cost the most.
Legit.
Yeah.
Most
It's
there
so
for that.
true.
most of my Audible ones, or most of my Kindle ones, I get on sale, like flash sale. So less pressure. It's more like if I ever feel like it, it's there as an option.
Yes.
Well, Kindle's making things so much easier for people to just be able to have books, and the ebook is really popular. It's like we have a lot of friends who are straight ebook readers just for the simple fact that like maybe they don't have the space to actually have a physical book, or like they've moved multiple times and they're going, I'm not moving a full library, like, but
Yeah.
they're big readers and they're like, the ebook has come out and it's such a great option to have for the people who just can't actually have like full libraries,
For me,
And how small it is.
it's so ergonomically easy compared to like a big hardcover to hold this. And like I have the pop socket, it's like I don't even have to do anything. And then I've seen people who get the stand with a little remote. I haven't quite gotten to that level yet, but it looks tempting.
We might both be guilty of that.
Yeah, I am. Because sometimes my neck hurts and I need to just lay back just right, and then it like I have it where it can like tilt just right so I can read it. I will say I will fall asleep easier that way when I'm like really like snuggled in bed or snuggled someplace, and I'm like
Clicking
it's
through.
a little bit easier to try to like fall asleep while you're reading, but
yeah, and I could see like having to like lift your hand and tap. This is such a first world problem.
It's great though, because we all are experiencing this.
I know, we say this all the time. I put my
font like super large, so I'm always having to tap, and it's so slow. I think like having the little clicker would be really something. That would be something.
It's definitely beneficial.
Well, I have tendonitis in my wrist, so I used to be a massage therapist, and when I started reading, I was only reading physical copies. So every time I would pick one up, my wrists would be so mad because of how I'm holding it and then turning the page and like shifting from hand to hand. And my wrists would just flare up, and then I'd be in wrist braces on both of my hands. I'm like, this is dumb. All I want to do is read my book. And my sister goes, hey, about that, you remember we have Kindle? And I went,
yeah.
That. And so we were on vacation and I was reading on my iPad, and my husband goes, we're getting you a Kindle Paperwhite for Mother's Day. So I got the Kindle Paperwhite, and I'm like, this thing is the best. And now he hides it from me.
I feel all old school because you guys hold your Kindles up and I just still read on my phone. I feel like maybe that's
you know what I read on the
maybe
Kindle
that's
app?
like old school. I don't know.
I read on the Kindle app on my phone for a good year before I finally got a Kindle. And I remember,
how do you feel about it?
At first I was like, what's the big deal? It's like really slow to, respond and all that. But now it's just, I think it's like you can like lie on your side, and the text doesn't turn with you, and like little things like that. Plus the screen doesn't have a glare the way that the phone screen does. It's like very matte, and it feels very easy on the eyes. I bet there would be like, if someone did a study, that it would be a lot better for your eyes than the phone. But no, I mean, the phone's still good. It's still good. It works.
It's always there. I don't got to look around. I'm like, I'm not like, where did I put my Kindle? It's like, I always just have my phone. And so.
But Steve is always there for me. Unless my husband hides
Laura has hers named, okay?
Mine's named.
Laura named hers.
That's funny.
Okay.
Mine doesn't have a
Mine's
name.
Steve.
I
And
know.
so it's funny. My husband will be like, he'll hide it. And I go, where's Steve? Where did Steve go? And
It's
then
a
he
game
goes,
at her house.
I guess you have to find it. So it's turned into this huge game at my house of, well, one, figuring out what book he moved on my bookshelf, and two, wherever my Kindle ends up. So if I leave it I can't leave it out anywhere anymore unless it's physically in my hands. Like I can't leave it out because he's gotten to a point of like hiding it. And it all started because of that stupid TikTok song that goes, it's you and me and you, just us and your friend Steve. And there was a girl who kept showing pictures of her and her husband. And then she would smile off to the side and have her Kindle in her hand. So this Kindle was popping in on like all of these pictures. And my husband goes, oh, you have a Steve.
The way I know exactly which sound you're talking about. Yep.
That's how hilarious. It happened. And so now it's named and it follows me everywhere. It comes everywhere with me and we'll get in the car. And I'll tell my kids, you guys don't need your phone. We're just going around the corner. And they're like, is Steve in your purse? And I'm like, maybe.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Well, Demi, is there anything that's coming up kind of in the future that you want people to be aware of or just watch for where you're kind of like, this is coming, even though we don't have a date on book 3. Also, maybe I'll kind of add another question into that is how does that feel when people keep asking you about book 3? Like, what's that pressure like? Like in my mind, I'm going like, God, how often does she get asked that? Like maybe I would get really annoyed by this time. I'm like that pressure of like putting out the next thing when you finally, you completed something. And the minute you complete it, they're just like, well, when's the next one? Well, when's the next one? And you're like,
yeah. Well, so like what people don't know is that it took me 2 years to write The Road of Bones. But like that was also me figuring out how to write. So it wasn't just like getting the story down. It was also learning how to write a story. Yeah. So, and then Kingdom of Claw took about 2.5 years because I was writing them like leapfrogging between them. And then when I put Kingdom of Claw out about 6 or 7 months after Bones, I was like, now people are going to think that that's like my turnaround rate for books.
Yeah.
But I hadn't written a word of book 3 yet. Like I had it outlined, but I didn't have it written. And so anyway, it was always going to be a little bit longer. And then with the switch to trad, I think that just kind of made it even longer.
Totally.
So sometimes I will admit I get a little touchy. I'm like I'm working on it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm working on it full time. And I know I can't really go any faster. But then I'm like, they're showing their excitement. Like, what do I say to an author whose book I loved is I can't wait to read the next one, or I can't wait for book 3 or whatever.
Right. It's a compliment.
It's like, I realize that that's not maybe as much pressure as they intend. And so I'm pretty good at just being like, oh, it's with my editor, or, oh, I'm working on it full time. I hope to have a release date soon, that kind of thing. And just being like, I also, I'm not ever going to feel pressured into putting it out before it's ready. Like that's really important to me, is that I don't want to go back and have to revise it, because I rushed it, or feel like I could have done a better job. I didn't do these characters justice, that kind of thing. Yeah. That's very important to me. And it's also something that like I had written into my contract with Penguin, is that we're going to have like long like deadlines. So there isn't that pressure, because I also wonder about people writing under pressure. Like I feel like creativity is stifled by like deadlines and things like that. Like having to think creatively under pressure, like, oof, I don't know. That would be really hard for me. So we have long deadlines, but then like I hope that I can just, surprise people and be faster. Did I answer?
I think that's cool that you. Yeah.
Yes.
And well, you totally did. That was kind of like that along the lines of like, do you have some things that are coming out? Like, do you have some like Comic-Cons that you're going to in the next few months, or like some big signings that you're excited about? Like, what do you have kind of coming up that like you're just excited about?
Yeah. So I have Hecla's novella, which will hopefully be releasing this summer.
Cool.
And Moonlight Book Box is doing a special edition for their July box for Road of Bones, and
We
it's like,
love Moonlight.
So we
oh,
love Moonlight.
oh my
We're
gosh,
big
they've been
supporters
amazing
of
to work
Moonlight.
with, and the art that I've seen so far and the cover and everything is like it's gonna be gorgeous. So and then I have a few events coming up in the fall. So I just announced I'm going to Books, Gowns, and Crowns in DC, and that's at the end of September. I have
Cool.
another event which I can't announce yet, but it's going to be in Orlando at the end of October. Do with that what you will.
Got it.
I've got like the
It's just
unofficial
in.
you're in, but not like the official announcement. So
Gotcha.
yeah. And then
What
I
is
don't
in
know for
Orlando?
2026, like if you guys want to see me at any events, just like send them to me. And I want to do some more. I'm in Canada, and so I want to do some more Canadian events. There's one called BB4E in Vancouver, and I didn't get in this year because
We just
I'm
saw
just the
that.
worst at deadlines. So I've applied for 2026. I want to go to that one. And I also want to go to a Polycon, but not this
Totally.
year because I was like 8 months late applying or something, like ridiculously late. But I was on
Some of
top of
those,
it for 2026.
yeah, I
So
mean, some of those cons, they're so,
they're so far ahead.
And they're
they
so
are.
big.
But I
Oh,
think
and
the
there's
reason they're far ahead is because they're planned well. Like they really take care. I mean, granted, I'm just speaking from going to like maybe Fanix and some of these others that are, they really do take care in like what they're doing, and so they're organized. And so sometimes I think the ones that are planned out far in advance, you know, that they're, the likelihood of them being a little bit better organized, you know,
yeah,
is like the likelihood, instead of someone just kind of being like, let's do this, and then they throw it together and it turns out to be, I mean, we've seen a couple, right, that have come out
Yeah.
to be like total messes because they did
Yeah.
not plan for the amount of people that were going to be there. They, you know, their
Or
organization
the
was,
venue, even the venue
oh
being
yeah,
a
the
problem
venue just
too.
did not work out. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
So if you guys have any questions for Demi, we're going to have you guys start sending them in now. Put those in the comment section over on Twitch, and we will do our live Q&A here in just a second. Demi, this has been so fun having
Really
you
fun.
on. I'm excited to see where you go in this next year.
Yeah.
Annie and I interviewed an author 2 weeks ago, and she was talking about the BB4E as well.
Yep. She
Would
was.
you ever go and like attend these events, or are you only wanting to go as like an actual author in the space?
I kind of want to go as an author.
Yeah.
I have no like reason why. I have no good reason why. But like a friend of mine actually offered me a ticket to BB4E, and I was less excited about it. Like I want to go and meet readers, and I want to be on the author side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun either way, because Annie and I have been talking about which events to go and attend.
It's so hard to choose.
It's
which
so hard
ones
to choose
like,
which ones to
go
do.
to and like put your money, because I mean, some of them cost money. I mean, a decent chunk. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
and if we have to travel, you know, you got to decide like which events you think are going to be, you know, more tailored to like what you are going to like and the
Definitely.
authors that are going to be there.
So I've only been to like the two events I've been to is Romantasy Book Con in LA and everything Emerald City. Why do I say everything? Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle. And so I will say that the general consensus about Romantasy Book Con was that it was really like Taylor Swift vibes for one thing, and it was really lovely. Everything was run pretty well. There were some issues with ADA compliance, but that was like a venue thing, and they're working actively to kind of like resolve that. Um, and you know they're like a newer event, so there's naturally going to be a few things that need to be improved upon, but they've been really receptive to making the changes. And I think it was just really lovely to have so many romantasy readers in one place, because I haven't been to other book cons, but I imagine when you get like dark romance and contemporary romance and you know all sorts of authors in one place, it can feel maybe more diluted or something. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like it just was lovely to have so many romantasy readers all in one place. Like I would have read
Yeah.
the books of every single author in that room, and so there's something for everybody.
Well, and every author's, they're just so different. that even when we went to a couple of the others, the way they have some of the authors set up at some of the booths was actually really cool. They had like, they were almost in like a circle. So like
Oh.
each author had like a side of like a square, and they all got together in the middle, and it was really kind of cool because it was interesting to see like who they put together, and they kind of tried to make them all be a little bit different. And then you would go to the next one, and um you could kind of just literally just walk around and just meet all these authors. And I actually loved hearing the pitches a little bit of like what what an author thought that their book was. And some of them were really long winded, and some of them were really short and sweet, and you just knew by the way they talked about their book that you were gonna like love it, you know.
Mhm.
And oh, it's my favorite to go to those. I can't, my budget doesn't like it, but yeah, I do. And my library does.
Budget smudge it.
I know. So,
Well, awesome. So I have got some questions here coming for the Q&A.
Awesome.
So you had talked about doing an outline for like book 3 when you finished up book 2.
Mhm.
When you were doing that through your outline, do you plot it out or are you a pantser?
Oh, I'm a plotter.
good question.
So when I was a child and wrote stories for fun, I never could finish them, or like I would rarely finish them. I really struggled, pantsing them. So when I came back to it as an adult, I was like, I think I'm going to need a plan. I need to know where this is going. And so that's how I write. And what's interesting is just having been to a few of these conferences and conventions lately, I'm so shocked at how many writers are pantsers. A lot of like big name authors are pantsers, which just floored me. And so yeah, I have a couple of like reference books here. Just grabbing this one here. This is probably the most famous book for plotting. It's called Save the Cat.
I have that
Novel. Yeah,
right there.
I don't like follow it like to the T or anything, but that's been really helpful. And I'm just wondering if I might not have the hard copy of this. Romancing the Beat is a really great book for plotting romance because she just helps
Tricky.
you set it up with like the push and pull of the relationship, and the progression. And some people can really do that stuff intuitively, but I needed that help. So yeah, when I wrote The Road of Bones, I think I followed like a YouTube video on how to do a 27 chapter outline kind of thing. And so it's like very strictly broken down. And I just used that as the guideline, but then I ended up like throwing that draft out and starting over completely. So like do with that what you will.
Yeah.
And then
that's just like trial and error though with anything, right? It's like you
Totally.
try it, you're like, nope, that doesn't work. We won't go that way.
Yeah.
Try something different.
And so like some of the advice I learned from my developmental editor that I hired was looking at the story as different episodes. So breaking it into like act 1, 2, and 3 are 3 different episodes. And so like, for example, in Kingdom of Claw, that's like how I set up Saga's storyline. So in act 1, she's like trying to intercept letters. Act 2, she's like, these aren't huge spoilers, I don't think. She's trying to like uncover the name of this like person who's working with the queen. And then in in act 3, it's like, I got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
so
it is.
It is. Yeah,
no, I can see that. I can see that setup already with where I'm at. Yeah, I can see the setup of that.
So each episode has like an inciting incident and then like a climax and a resolution that leads into the next episode. Yes. The other thing she told me that was really helpful was to make sure that you have like setup and payoff chapters, and that they're not like too many setup chapters in a row, especially with multi-POV books that can get, that's easy to accidentally happen. So to just make sure there's always payoff happening somewhere, if that makes sense.
I love that. That's a way. Oh, we love a good setup and a good payoff.
I like the payoff.
I do too. Next question. At the beginning, you talked about burnout. Are you wanting or willing to talk about that and how you overcame it?
Yeah, so for me, it was I needed to get distance from the thing that gave me burnout, which was my other job. Randomly, I ran a food blog. And so it used to be like when I started it, really creative, coming up with fun recipes, but then it slowly devolved into kind of like search engine optimization, what people are Googling for, like how to cook salmon, how to freeze strawberries. It's just not filling my creative bucket. And so
Got
I
it.
really needed to, tried to push through it for so long. And that's what led to the burnout. And so eventually I just had to take a couple months leave. And I'm like super lucky that I could do that, that the blog kept going and earning ad revenue as I rested. But for me, rest was absolutely crucial. Just like taking the pressure and the guilt of not doing it, just like resting. And while I was doing that, I just sort of fell into writing and found that creative spark that I was missing. And unfortunately, at that point, I was like, oh, I can't go back to this thing that was making me
Yeah.
miserable. And so,
Aw, shucks.
my full circle moment is that, you know, I got the book deal because like, I wrote the book while I was in burnout, and then it, eventually I got the book deal, and that allowed me to sell the business that gave me the burnout. So it was like, yeah, I sold it last
Yay!
summer, and now I'm just like completely full-time author.
I mean, that
Love it.
totally works out then.
It's really strange how the universe works.
Definitely. We would agree with that.
We can't fight it sometimes, though.
Nope.
We just can't fight it. You gotta roll with it.
It's true. Next question. Can you give us the title of book 3?
Oh, do you have a title?
I have a title, but I'm not
Okay.
allowed to share it yet.
Okay.
Ah!
I'm so sorry.
No, but that's cool. You have it already.
I have
Sometimes
it.
that's like is that like, how do you feel about making titles? Is that hard?
Okay, so it was a little hard in that, trying to like come to an agreement with my editor was a little
Yeah.
hard because she had different ideas. And then eventually we just settled on this one. And I love it. I've also seen a sketch of the cover. And so, well, one
Ooh.
thing that's really unfortunate is the guy that drew the Rotobones, the covers you have up there, he unfortunately passed away last April or May.
That's so
Yeah.
hard.
So sad.
Yeah, he was really young and so talented, and I was really like loved working with him. And I'm so glad that Penguin kept his covers because now it's like his legacy is going to live on. But I was extremely nervous about how are we going to match these covers because we're not changing the cover again. And so, luckily Penguin has a lot of resources and contacts, and they were able to find an illustrator who has a very similar aesthetic. And then the most random thing happened at why do I keep saying everything? There was a food blogger conference back in the day called Everything Food, and now I want to say that instead of Emerald City. At Emerald City Comic-Con, the illustrator happened to be there, and she happened to be walking by when I was doing a signing, and she saw the book cover and was like, "Are you Demi?" And so then she came over and introduced herself, and it was so lovely.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
It was so random. So I've met her,
so
and
cool.
she's lovely, and she's going to do a really good job in
That's
matching.
exciting.
See, that's another one of those things where it's like the universe sometimes just like, you can't fight it. It just works for your benefit.
So strange.
Many things are coming
Cool.
full circle, which I
That's cool.
absolutely love.
I do. I love it.
Demi, thank you so much for coming on today. We are so excited for these adventures that you have coming in the future and how many things have come full circle for you. So where can everybody find you? Like, where's your social medias?
I'm most active on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok and Threads, and I have a website. I have a Discord group. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm everywhere. So if you want to find me, you could probably just go to my link tree and choose your favorite social.
Awesome. And we will get that linked down below in the show notes. But Demi, thank you so much for coming on, and we are so excited for all of your future endeavors.
Thank you so much for having me. This was lovely to chat.